grew up as an only child and an only child playing golf. So I feel like the whole world revolved around me for a long time. And now it doesn't. It revolves around this little person that came into the world a few weeks ago, and it's a nice change of pace. It's different. It's I was even saying, getting up here, the first thing, playing yesterday, getting back to the house, like there was no thought of turning the TV on. There was no thought of going on my phone. It was just go and see her and play a little bit before she goes to bed. And so it's nice to take your mind off things too. But in a way, it's, as I said, I think you need to be a pretty selfish person to be a good player at this game, and a little bit of selflessness probably isn't a bad thing for me.
Rory, you're coming into this fall Masters with some form. You had 29 birdies in Zozo in your last tournament. You're very strong on strokes saved off the tee now, and I looked on your Instagram. You've hit the 190 ball speed that you were chasing for a long time. So I just wondered, how will that translate into what you're doing this week?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's the whole trend in the game at the minute, people trying to get a bit longer and a bit more speed. And, I think, having a bit of length this week's going to be an advantage. The course is pretty soft. With the rain forecast as well, it might get even softer. Look, the game feels pretty good. Before the world changed in March, I was playing pretty good. I got the #1 in the world. Was playing really consistent golf, and then after we came back out of the lockdown, I've sort of, there's been really good stuff in there, but there's been some lackluster stuff too. Lapses of concentration. Sometimes feeling like you're out there and it doesn't really count. It's been an adjustment to get used to, but. We've been in it now for a few months, and feel like I've, maybe took me a little longer to adjust than some other people, but, this is the way it's going to be for a while. And, they're still handing out trophies at the end of every week. So you may as well try and play as hard as possible for them.
And you've been up here twice in the last 2 weeks or so. So you got a better feel for the course and the way it's playing? Yeah.
I came up here, like 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. And the course was very soft, very long then. It wasn't quite as warm as it is now. And then, I was up last Saturday. Course was a little firmer, a little better, a little faster. And then it seems as if as the days have went on, it's just gradually getting a little more what we're used to, a little faster, a little more bounce up to the greens, a little firmness to the greens. It's still not the same as what it is in April, because it can't be. I mean, you guys can do a lot of things here at Augusta, but I don't think you're magicians. So it's a little different, but that's to be expected. And I think everyone's looking forward to it. I think everyone's just so grateful that there is a Masters this year and we're playing it. And I think everyone's looking forward to getting started.
Thanks, Rory. I'm going to open up for questions. Doug?
Rory, when you talk about your results basically post-pandemic and some of the adjustments you've gone through, how do you feel about the state of your game going into this Masters compared with previous ones in April? How much does form really matter to you?
Yeah, honestly, I feel good. I do feel good about my game. I'd say over the last 2 months, I've worked on some technical stuff on my swing that I needed to. Swing was getting very flat, very deep underneath the plane on the way down. I feel like I had to sort of hang on to it through impact to hit it straight. Where now it's sort of getting back down on plane. I feel like I can fully release it and the ball is it's starting straight. I don't have to feel like I hold on to it to hit a straight shot. So that sort of has given me a nice bit of freedom throughout my swing. I don't really have the fear of the left as I had sort of during the summer. And yeah, I mean, I've played pretty well. As John said, I made a bunch of birdies at Zozo. I made a few mistakes as well, but I've always felt it's harder to make the birdies than it is to sort of get rid of the bogeys and the others. So, this week it's, play, take advantage of the holes that you can, play smart on the other ones, and if you can do that and think a little bit better and, concentrate a little bit more, and just limit your mistakes. That's always a good thing around here. And sort of making sure that you make no worse than a bogey on any hole. That's something that I probably haven't done here that well in the past. I've made a few big numbers, and if you can limit those and take your medicine, be smart, punch out of trees, not try to be a hero. That all can sort of add up to at the end of the week to saving a few shots here and there.
Steve.
Without grandstands and without patrons lining the fairways and the greens, does that change any strategy whatsoever about where you can miss, where you can miss now, where you can't miss now? Does that change anything?
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes I've thought, like, for the second hole, for example, the second shot into 2, for some of those pins over on the left side, if you get it out of position, like hitting it way right, almost over near the third tee box, isn't that? Whenever there's a lot of people, they put that like green sandy stuff down, and now you don't have that. You actually, you hit it out to the right, you have a perfect lie, and so I think around the greens it's a little different because you don't have the patrons walking and matting the grass down, and the lies are maybe a little bit better around where the patrons would sort of sit and stand. But not really. I mean, it's the same golf course. It's you're always trying to look inside where the people would be standing anyway.
Rory, I've got an online question here from Bernie McGuire of the Irish Star. He says, Rory, what are your thoughts on your opening draw with Dustin Johnson and Patrick Cantlay, and your thoughts on teeing off from the 10th tee on early Friday morning?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I see DJ and Patrick nearly every day when I'm home. They're both members of the Bears Club. We all practice at the same place, so I think it's a pretty comfortable draw for all of us. DJ and I actually teamed up today to beat Phil and Xander in a little match on the back nine, so that's good. And yeah, I mean, I actually teed off 10 on Sunday last year, so it's not as if it's new to me. I did it last year, and it's not a bad, if you can get off to a decent start, then you've got a nice run of holes, through sort of the middle to the end of the back nine and then into the front nine. You can get on a little run there. So I don't see any real difference. I mean, as obviously everyone's going to try to get through 10 and 11 unscathed, and then the course sort of opens up from there.
Daniel?
You mentioned the trend of everyone trying to add speed and get longer. It feels like there's extra attention on that this year, given Bryson's performance in the last major, and then also this just being, the cathedral of golf, where come back every year. And this is, in the 19 months since last year's Masters, a lot has changed, and there's some concern about how this is going to hold up and what the future holds. Do you share that concern at all?
No, I don't. I don't share that concern. I don't. If you look at Bryson's strokes gained numbers at the U.S. Open, his strokes gained around the green and strokes gained putting was better than his strokes gained off the tee. He did drive it really well, but at the same time, you need to back that up with all other aspects of your game. So, if trophies were handed out just for how far you hit it and how much ball speed you have, then I'd be worried. But that's there's still a lot of different aspects that you need to master in this game. So. But look, it's I could see this being quite a low-scoring week, but that's just because of the way the golf course is. It's a little softer. It's November. It's going to play a little differently. And, I mean, I still think this golf course provides enough of a challenge to challenge the best players in the world.
Alan?
Rory, Phil was in here just a minute ago, and he said he has zero doubt you're going to win a green jacket and possibly more than one. I'm just wondering, after some of the disappointments you've had here, if you share that confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. But look, nothing's given in this game. I guess there's no better person to maybe talk about than to sit down and have a chat with Phil, because he broke through here when he was 34 for his first major, after knocking on the door a long time. I'm not quite in that scenario, but I'm looking for my first here. So yeah, I mean, look, I've always felt like I've had the game to do well around here and to play well. It's just a matter of getting out of my own way and letting it happen. But as I said, it's you have to go out and earn it. You can't just rely on people saying that you're going to win one, and Greg Norman never did, Ernie Els never did. There's a lot of great people that have played this game that have never won a green jacket. So it's not a foregone conclusion, and I know that. So I have to go out and earn it and play good golf. And I think nowadays with how many great players there are, I need to play my very best golf to have a chance.
Daniel?
Rory, the Masters is special in part because of its many traditions, the beginning of spring. What will you miss most about the look of an April Masters compared to this one in November?
I don't know if it's the look that I'll miss, or if it's the atmosphere, it's the buzz, it's the excitement, it's the anticipation. I was saying to John earlier, John Rahm held his shot on 16 today, skipping it over the water. I mean, just imagine the roars that would have created, in a normal year. That would have been pretty cool. So, that's something that is obviously going to be different this year for obvious reasons. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's pretty. The azaleas on 13 and everything in the spring is nice. I've had a closer look at them than most people. I've headed up and those azaleas left at 13 too many times. But it's a different look. It's November, and I think everyone just has to embrace that. We're here and we're playing, and that's a great thing.
Scott?
Rory, before everything shut down, you would have been coming in here as maybe the primary story that week that everybody was talking about. And since that, Bryson has kind of taken over the narrative a lot, and you're a little more under the radar coming in here. Do you prefer that rather than us constantly talking about your quest and what you can accomplish here?
I do prefer that. I like it. I've always liked sort of doing my own thing and trying to stay as low-key as possible. Sometimes the way I've played over the years, I haven't, that hasn't happened because, I've won some tournaments, and, I've been on some pretty good runs at times. But yeah, I don't mind this. This is nice. It's, it feels like everything this year, it's more subdued, it's more relaxed. It's sort of just, that's the feel for me anyway. Obviously Bryson's going to be feeling a little different because, the attention is on him, and deservedly so, coming off the back of a major win and basically disrupting the game of golf over the last few months. It's a big story, and I'm just as intrigued as everyone else to see how that unfolds.
Jamie?
Rory, have you ever been this relaxed going into a Masters, sorry? I have. I mean, it's not a, there's been, I think the times when I'm not relaxed is when I'm not feeling comfortable with my game, and I'm not sure of some aspects of my game, and that's when you're not as relaxed. But as I said at the start of this press conference, my game feels good, and I've hit it well over the past couple of weeks in practice up here, playing a couple of practice rounds the last 2 days. I feel as in control as I have been for a while, and that adds to that relaxed feeling. That it's in there. It's just a matter of going out and, as I said to Alan, just getting out of my own way and just playing. Play with freedom.
John?
Well, I'm just curious, with the year that it's been for all of us, all the upheaval with COVID, with everything else that's happening, to the extent to which golf has been a refuge for you, in a place that you can really find a haven on the course, on the practice areas, and how the game has been for you in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a refuge for a lot of people. You look at rounds of golf played is way up this year. The golf equipment business is booming. Golf has been one of the only things that, people can do. You can get outside, you can socially distance, you can stay safe. People have probably taken up the game again that haven't played golf in 20 years. I think it's, with all the bad stuff that's happened with the pandemic, some silver lining, I guess, is the fact that our game has probably never been in better shape. So that's a good thing. And hopefully that continues. Hopefully it's not just something that people pick up in the middle of a pandemic and then they set it aside. I think, hopefully people continue to play golf and realize what a wonderful game it is.
Two more questions, Luke.
Hey, Rory, you mentioned up top that you think great players need a large element of selfishness. Just curious what you think some other shared traits are among successful people, whether it be golfers or businessmen or anybody else.
If you wanted to just put it one word, it's probably grit. And whatever, there's a lot of words that you can associate with grit: persistence, perseverance, stubbornness, doggedness, never really giving up on your dreams. That's the common denominator. Grit is something that I don't think it's something you're born with. I think it's something you need to learn to have, something you can sort of cultivate. But I think that's, going back to someone like Bryson. I think Bryson's got a lot of that because he does things very differently and he's not afraid to be different. And that takes courage and, perseverance and persistence. And so, yeah.
Bob?
Rory,
Bob.
when you, two things. If the greens are not as firm, are they still difficult to hold and are they still tricky? And then the second thing is, when you're up here with your dad, do you play a match with him? Do you give him strokes? Is it competitive or is it just more just playing?
Yeah. Look, when the greens are softer, I think it makes most second shots easier. You can be a little more aggressive. The ball's going to hold on some of the different areas on the greens, unless you're going in with, wedges where the ball's going to spin a lot. Then you're going to have to start to take spin off and sort of hit little shots and three-quarter shots. But for the most part, second shots into par fives and, shots into the longer par fours, they are slightly easier, when the greens are a little softer. And then when they are softer, they're a touch slower as well. I don't think the greens quite got up to the full speed they could even last year. There was some rain. They kept them soft for the women's amateur as well, so they never quite got up to full speed. And this year is they could, but obviously with rain coming again, it looks like they're not going to be maybe as fast as some years previously. It definitely makes the approach shots a little bit easier. You can be a little more aggressive. And then I played. It was myself, my dad, Jimmy Dunn, who's a member here, and actually a friend of Matt Wolf's, Cole White, who his dad was with Jimmy the day before, and Cole stayed and played another day. So it was me and the young guys. Cole and I took on the old guys, and the old guys actually beat us. But I think we lost on the first tee. I think there was too many shots given. So, it's good to, I've been very fortunate that I've shared that experience with my dad here a few times. I always think back to growing up at Hollywood Golf Club and playing with him there, and to think, 20 years down the line that we'd be walking up the 18th at Augusta together and playing. And, I've even got goosebumps just talking about it. So, it's really cool, and I definitely don't take it for granted.
Last two questions. Mark?
Since we restarted and golf kind of led the way across a lot of sports, or all sports, of figuring out how to do this safely, was there ever a moment where you sort of doubted most that we'd ever be able to make it back to here, to Augusta in November?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything was up in the air at one point. I think when the Open Championship was cancelled, I had serious doubts that we'd play a Masters this year in 2020. I think but it was the RNA were in a tough situation. The fact that if they pushed it back, the daylight in the UK just isn't there to to hold a field of 156. I think one of the nice things about the Masters is it's a limited field, and you can put people off 2 tees and pretty much guarantee that most of us are going to get finished if there isn't any weather delays. So Augusta maybe had some things in its favor that the Open Championship didn't. But yeah, I think everyone, it's been a collective effort. I think the PGA Tour has worked with Augusta National, with RNA, with the USGA, PGA of America. I think if anything, it's made the game, at least at the top level, a little more cohesive. I think the different organizations are working together and working better together, and that's a good thing for the game going forward as well.
Last question from Adam.
If I could follow up on Luke's question, where do you think your grit came from? And also, could you just give a little bit of highlights of what being a first-time father has been like for these first couple months?
Yeah, I think my grits came from my failures, and I don't have to look any further than this place in 2011. I learned a lot from that day. I learned a lot in terms of, what I needed to be and what I didn't need to be. I needed to be myself. I didn't need to try to be like anyone else. But I think, failure, and I try to say this to young guys that are coming through, you can't be afraid of it. You have to embrace the fact that you are going to fail at things, but, you should learn from them. And then when you go again, you should be better. And, I've had a nice little bit of success in this game. But I have failed a hell of a lot more than I have succeeded in this game. And that is why I have succeeded, is because I've went through those tough patches, and you need to go through those tough patches to learn. So I feel like that's where I've got my persistence or grit from. And then, the last 10 weeks is obviously, it's been, I've never used the FaceTime app as much on my phone as I have. And yeah, I really have an appreciation for my mom and dad and what they went through with me. And, you never think about that stuff. And then, you think back to your parents, and, they were doing the same thing with you 30 years ago. So, I have a real appreciation for that.
Thank you very much, everybody. Rory, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.